Hey everyone, it's summer, and there is nothing more integral to the summer spirit than music. So we thought we would bring you a whole hour of some of the hottest music and musicians making the rounds this season. First up is one of the most talented and lovely artists it's been my good fortune to meet, coming to you from New Zealand via our Times Square Here TV studio. It's the delightful and wonderful Ginny Blackmore. Okay, so here I am in the studio again today with the amazing, beautiful voiced and beautiful in person singer-songwriter Ginny Blackmore. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk about your song Bones first of all, because that's the one that's just...
Okay, if we have to.
It's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Where did this come from? Where did the idea to write it, and what was the inspiration for the song?
Bones was a very organic thing. It just popped out of me one night. I was renting a studio apartment in Hollywood while I was working in LA, and I was feeling a bit emotional. And I normally carry all of my recording gear with me, so I had my microphone with me at all times, my laptop, and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I feel a song coming on. I feel a song coming on. And I called one of my favorite producers, Steph Manahan, who produced it, and said, can you send me a track right now? And he did. He sent me the beat for Bones, and I just set the microphone up and started to sing. And the first verse is actually just freestyle.
Oh, really?
This is the best freestyle I've ever done. So I just went for it. I just stood up to the mic and sang. And because of the way that it came about, we decided to keep the original recording. So the recording that I made in the apartment is the actual recording that we've released. So Bones was like a verbal spew. I know that sounds really gross, but turned out kind of pretty.
Wait, and is that sort of how songs come for you? Like they just sort of are like, oh, I feel a song coming on?
The ones that I love the most, probably yes. I can just feel it coming on, and I have to be ready for it. So.
But do you have a process, like if it isn't just sort of coming naturally, like you said, do you have a process that will like sort of either engage you sort of on that level or sort of kickstart you in some way?
If music inspires me, if a beat inspires me, then I can just go for it. So I sit in studios on leather couches trying to write tracks. Sometimes I go into it thinking I have nothing in my brain, but it turns out I do, and it's all because the producer is really inspiring or what they bring is inspiring. So.
In terms of like inspiration, where do you draw your inspiration from? I mean, is it other musicians? Is it sort of environmental? Like what inspires you?
People, humans, like the inner workings of a human being. That's something that does inspire me to write. Just things that make me look outside of myself and outside of the world. Do you even like me at all? Stop talking about making it better. It ain't that complicated. I just want to feel your arms.
Do you look to particular artists or even other musicians perhaps? Like I know filmmakers who are like, sort of reference particular sort of like painters or sculptors.
Yeah, there's been people and they have really influenced me. Lauryn Hill, I would say, was the first person who made me just fall in love with music.
Wow.
I was just madly in love. John Mayer really inspires me. The lyrics, the excellence about it, love him. I really love Rihanna. I love her tone. I love the way she delivers it. She's just the coolest. And she's got face for days.
Absolutely.
I want that face, but I don't have it.
Oh
well.
No,
Miguel, I'm in love with at the moment. He's inspiring me.
Well, it seems like you work constantly and you're out on the road. And what do you find to be the most challenging part of being a part of this crazy business?
When you do this kind of thing all day long, it can be lonely.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but it's amazing.
Do you ever wake up in cities and you're like, where am I?
Yes, I've had a few anxious wake-ups. I'm like, what's going on?
And sort of on the converse side, like what do you find the most fulfilling part of this job too?
At the moment, it's the way that people are reacting to Bones, that it's actually doing something to them emotionally. Even men. I think I had a gig and men were crying.
Oh.
I know, right? Oh. They came up to me and they were like, oh my gosh, I just realized how much I love my wife. I'm like, dude, that's amazing. Either they're deciding that they're in the wrong relationship, or they're realizing that they're in the right one and they're becoming grateful, or they're figuring out what to do. And I've even had a couple of people say that the song actually started discussions that ended up saving their relationships. So that is insane.
That's
and
insane.
That is why I do what I do.
You're signed recently with Epic and LA Reid, which is huge.
Kinda.
How do you sort of view the music industry? I mean, because it's really changed dramatically over the last probably 10 or 15 years.
Yeah. When you're not in it, it feels like it's a business and an industry and this huge machine. And then you realize once you're in it, then it's just a bunch of people. Just a bunch of people sitting around a table, throwing all of their ideas at each other. And one guy gets to make the final decision. And hopefully he's the one with the most experience. I don't know, I felt like it was a big scary thing, but it's not. It's all negotiable. It's just art.
That's amazing.
That's all it is.
Wow.
It's not a big deal. You can do it. You can get involved.
I cannot do it, but I'm like the least musical person you'll probably ever meet in your life. It's like, you know, I can barely, you know, put one foot in front of the other, so I have no rhythm or anything.
That's pretty awesome though, so.
So I'm so appreciative of anybody who can make music, and especially beautiful music like yours. Now, who is your sort of go-to music person? Like, if you're like, you know what, I'm going to do some housework, and like, who would be the first person you would put on?
At the moment? Housework?
Well, you know, like, yes, housework.
If I'm doing housework, I would choose Miguel.
Okay.
Because he'd keep me chill, like, this is an alright thing to be doing. If I'm getting ready, I listen to Rihanna.
Okay. I don't even know if I need to ask this question, but if you had to choose someone to do a duet with, who would it be?
Actually, it would be D'Angelo.
Oh, really?
Or John Mayer.
Okay.
They would be my favorite too.
That would be great.
I actually have this dream.
You do?
That one day, he and I do this outdoor concert. Maybe in a vineyard, maybe just in a field. We do this really sick outdoor concert where we combine our music, and he sings mine and I sing his, and we sing together, and it's a sick concert, and it's filmed for release, so it's like this one-off live recording, and it's the greatest thing in the whole world.
It
and
sounds
I
pretty
would
great
love
to
that.
me.
John.
If you're out there watching gay television, please write in.
Yes.
We will connect you. All right, I'm all for it. Well, thank you for coming in today. It's such honestly a pleasure to meet you, and I love your song, and I wish you the best of luck, and congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
To give you a little taste, here she is singing her hit and one of my favorite songs of the summer, Bones.
Hey, I'm Ginny Blackmore, and this is my debut single, Bones. I wish that you could see who I really am. It sucks being a woman in love with an unkind man. 'Cause baby, I would give you the world. In fact, I already do. And how do you repay that? Talk to me like I'm just a regular tramp trying to screw you over. Do you even have a clue what I gave up just to be here? To serve your ass with steak and beer. Baby, that's love. Baby, that's real. And all I ever wanted was for your damn arms to wrap themselves around me and say, hey, girl, you're the prettiest thing my eyes have ever seen. Come and lay your bones down with me. Come and lay your bones down with me. Hey, girl, you're the prettiest thing my heart has ever known. Come and lay your bones down with me. Come and lay your bones down with me. I'm not trying to play the victim. Don't wanna go head to head. But boy, I shouldn't have to stand in the mirror convincing myself I'm fair. Baby, that's your job to do. Baby, you should think I'm beautiful. Why you wanna watch the set when I'm laying right next to you in our own room? I feel like you don't even know I'm there, but I put a brush through my hair for you, ran my fingertips over your back real smooth. Cause boy, I need love, I don't get enough. And all I ever wanted was for your damn arms to put themselves around me and say, hey girl, you're the prettiest thing my eyes have ever seen. Come and lay your bones down with me. Come and lay your bones down with me. Hey girl, you're the prettiest thing my eyes ever known. Come and lay your bones down with me. Come and lay your bones down with me. I look you dead in the eye and say I love you. In the eye and say I want you. In the eye and say this is what I'm asking for. How can you sit and stare at the wall? Do you even like me at all? Stop talking about making it better. It ain't that complicated. I just wanna feel your arms around me, baby. Please say, girl, you're the prettiest thing my eyes have ever seen. Come and lay your bones down with me. Come and lay your bones down with me. Hey girl, you're the prettiest thing my heart has ever known. Come and lay your bones down with me. Come and lay your bones down with me. Come and lay your bones. Come and lay your bones. Come and lay your bones down with me. Come and lay your bones. Come and lay your bones. Come and lay your bones down with me. Oh, it's a woman's dream.
Okay, now for something completely different. All the way from the Ukraine, here is the synth pop dance group Kazaky with a little help from some subtitles. Hey everyone, I'm here at the gorgeous Out Hotel in Midtown Manhattan and surrounded by five beautiful guys, four of which make up the amazing, super sexy group Kazaky. Thanks for coming in and sitting down and chatting with me today. When did you guys actually arrive in New York City? Today?
Мы приехали, на самом деле, в воскресенье. До этого мы выступали в Далласе, у нас было выступление.
Amazing. So the country is so big, I think sometimes people think, oh, it's kind of all the same. Like, what's your impression of like, you know, the sort of Texas versus, you know, New York, America?
По сравнению, конечно, потому что здесь все-таки жизнь кипит, так все очень динамично происходит, а там достаточно спокойно.
Trucks, right?
Yeah, trucks.
Be ready.
Is there anything that you know, sometimes when, you know, you travel abroad, you're like, oh, this reminds me of home. Is there anything in the United States that actually reminds you of the Ukraine?
Ой, на самом деле, очень разные города. На самом деле, очень разные города. Вот когда мы ездим по Европе, то есть там многое напоминает Украину, потому что все-таки похожая архитектура средневековая, а вот, конечно, Америка совершенно другой город, и, ну, максимум пересекаются какие-то готические соборы просто по стилистике.
And how have you found, like, you know, the sort of reception here in terms of Americans? Oh, really? Oh, well, that's good. That's because they like you. When they don't, forget it.
No choice, I wanna hear you.
Tell us about how this all started. Like, how did you guys get together and form this group?
Без шутки, но до этого мы были друзьями, и, соответственно, как бы потом начали уже, как появилась такая идея, родилась, ну, так изначально вот без шутки.
Ну, как бы главное, я еще добавлю, что главная идея была не в том, что просто собраться всем вместе, там, не знаю, сделать кастинг, набрать ребят и сделать подобный проект. Как бы все намного глубже, потому что изначально мы просто сделали то, что нам нравится, не думая о том, что да, мы там заработаем, станем очень известными. Мы просто собрались и сделали просто по кайфу то, что нам нравится.
First of all, I'm a sucker for hot guys in stiletto heels, so you hit the target with me. But was that, you mentioned that was sort of kind of a joke when you started, but then it became sort of an integral part of your sort of performance. Why did it stick around? I mean, why did you guys feel like that was something you wanted to hold on to?
Когда мы говорим шутка, мы не имеем в виду, что мы пошутили и как бы ничего не делаем там. То есть мы работаем, мы сидим в зале, мы пашем, мы репетируем, записываем песни. Это все очень тяжелый труд, но
когда это делаешь с удовольствием,
когда это делаешь с удовольствием, это перестает быть работой. Хоть занимает все наше время. Это, в принципе, как бы было началом и стало нашей основной фишкой. Потому, в принципе, отказываться от нее...
Are you all like trained, like officially trained dancers, or?
All professional.
I love music videos, like old school. I'm an old school music video fan. Your music videos are phenomenal. They're stunning. I mean, I particularly love Last Night. Like that one is just so beautiful, and because I actually, long time ago in another life, directed music videos. Do you come in with the concept and say, hey, this is what we want it to sort of look like and feel like, or do you collaborate with the director, or do you sort of like farm it out a little bit?
Его мнение, да, то, что он видит, какой стиль, какая направленность, идея какая. Вот, и, естественно, высказываем то, что мы видим, и находим что-то общее.
На самом деле в нашей работе касается не только видео, а музыки, хореографии, всего, костюмов. Мы во всем участвуем, то есть ничего не приходит просто вот так, что раз предложили и мы взяли, то есть все проходит через нас. И в этом, наверное, тоже частично наш успех, потому что мы делаем именно тот продукт, который мы хотим делать.
By putting on a pair of heels, by men, I should say, putting on a pair of heels, there is something inherently political about it, whether that's the intention or not. Is there an awareness of that at all in your sort of concept of this group and what you're doing?
Там, что мы защищаем кого-то, что-то, мужчин на каблуках, нет, все-таки, наверное, главный месседж — это какая-то свобода. Вот. И каждый человек для себя, да, то есть, ну, политического какого-то месседжа такого у нас нет, то есть свобода.
Но есть одно слово, да.
And what do you hope that when, I mean, your audiences come see the live performances as opposed to the videos, what do you want your audiences to take away from, as an experience from your live performance?
На самом деле главное, чтобы они унесли хорошие эмоции и энергию, а зачастую, как показывает практика, мы не хвалим себя, но после концертов многие люди, которые даже нас не знали до этого, пришли просто на концерт со своими друзьями, действительно начинают с уважением относиться, им, да, и нравится, действительно им нравится, потому что для артиста очень важна работа на сцене, именно хорошая профессиональная работа. Вот. И это, наверное, самое главное. Человек получает хорошую энергетику, хороший заряд. То есть, в принципе, мы не несем никакого чего-то грязного, там, чего-то... Многие считают нас вызывающими, но мы не считаем себя вызывающими. Мы считаем, что это хореография, это красиво.
And you had said that it wasn't necessarily started as a commercial venture. And then as it began to grow and blossom and your career as a group took off, would you say was the most surprising sort of thing along this sort of insane journey that you're on?
Ну, я думаю, у каждого, наверное, свое мнение
Ну,
на этот вопрос.
да,
всё-таки,
у каждого
потому что
свое
мы каждый
мнение.
отдельные личности.
Мы каждую на самом деле минуту получаем интересное ощущение.
Ну, на самом деле, приезжая там в Мексику, в Бразилию, мы даже не подозревали, что, например, там у нас столько фанов там, и что они настолько, ну, как бы скажем, преданные, энергичные, горячие. Это всегда приятно, и каждый раз, когда ты выходишь на сцену и видишь огромный заполненный зал, и все кричат, ну, наверное, это, для нас это лучшая награда. Да, нельзя сказать, что прям мы там прям вообще не ожидали, но для нас, наверное, это самое приятное в нашей работе. Ну и, конечно же, нам всегда приятно, когда, ну, скажем, там та же Мадонна, Дисквайр, когда талантливые люди, мы их вдохновляем, и они обращают внимание. То есть это приятно.
If in your dream, who would you want to collaborate with? Okay, me too.
Энди Ворхол.
Джордж Харрисон.
Джастином Тимберлейком.
Well, thank you all for sitting down and chatting with me. I can only wish you the best of luck with your performance tonight and everywhere that you go. And for all things Kazaky, you can go to kazaky.com and check out their videos and their music and everything all about them. And we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Well, it's just around the world here today. Our next guest is another awesome singer-songwriter. She's from the UK, and she has been topping the charts over there since 2007. Here is the adorable Kate Nash. Okay, so today I'm here with the amazing singer-songwriter Kate Nash, whose album Made of Bricks and song Do Wah Do is topped the charts, and I've been listening to it non-stop, and I fucking love it. I have to tell you, I love it. When do you start to write an album? Like, how do you sit down? Do you have the ideas for the songs, or how does it come? Because I don't know anything about music or songwriting.
My songwriting process has really changed over the years. With the latest record, Girl Talk, which just came out in March, I'm a storyteller, so I like to, and I have a sense of humour. I like to sort of try and be humorous and self-deprecating in the lyrics and stuff, and be writing about honest things that a lot of people relate to. But I'll just sort of sit and strum a repetitive few chords or piano or bass or whatever I'm writing on, and just go over and over, and then melody will start coming, and then just the words just sort of start coming out.
You mentioned your recent album. I noticed that you self-produced that. What does that mean when you self-produce your own album? Or self-released your own album?
Self-released, yeah. Right. Well, basically, I got dropped from my record label last year.
We won't even mention their name.
So I made the record in March in LA. Tom Villa produced it, who's amazing, and it was just a weird time in my life when I purged the album out. It was something I really needed to do therapy-wise, you know, I was either this or die or go to a mental institute or something. And so yeah, it was that was what I needed to do to cope with what I was going through, and then it was just kind of a weird, I could sense something wasn't quite right, you know, going back and forth with the label. They weren't really involved in anything, and then over the summer they just didn't pick up my option, so I got dropped. And because I was on a sort of mission, I needed to keep working and touring, and I really wanted to keep momentum and put the record out. And I was I really believe in this album, I'm really proud of it, and I've been working in the industry for about 7 years now, so you know, I pulled together a team of people and got help, and I had a small record label called Have 10p Records, which I put out some 7-inch singles on of my friends, and so we just that felt like the right thing to do. And because I have a lot of loyal fans, because of the internet, things like Twitter and Facebook, you can sort of call on them to, you know, support it, and it's very different. There's certain things that are more challenging, but you know, it's really liberating. I think I'm at a certain point at the moment in my life where it's the right thing for me, because I'm very independent.
I'm not well versed in the music industry, but it does seem like a really brutal, sort of, chew you up, spit you out type of industry.
Yeah.
And do you think that that is sort of the way of the future, being able to self-release your albums and your songs through these other platforms?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if this happened to me 10 years ago, I'd be in a very different position. And there's a lot of like really cool things about today's kind of like business world and the internet. Because really now anyone can have an idea and find a way of like putting it out there. And if it's a good idea, and there's loads of ways of being able to promote yourself and get a following and get, it's a pretty incredible time to live in, even though I think there's a lot of negative things about the internet as well.
Well, it seems like it will also open the door to things that are more artful, if you will.
Yeah.
Whether it's a passion project or something that you just, feel like you need to get out there, and you never know. It's like, I think about great albums from history, the one that comes to my mind off the top of my head is, Carole King's Tapestry. Like, imagine if like she was dropped from her label and we never had Tapestry. And it's sort of about accessibility.
Yeah. I watched an interview recently with Patti Smith, and she really inspired me because she was sort of, she's like a hero, and she just said all these things that really related to my situation at the time about like, in your career, there'll be ups and downs, there'll be things that challenge you, there'll be like times when you're like the hot thing right now and other times when you're not, and it's just like, if you're an artist, you just got to keep going through that.
Now, you're a singer-songwriter, you're a recording artist, you also perform live. Do you have a preference in terms of like, because I know, and we're going to talk about this in a second, about collaborating with other artists and writing songs, and you write your own songs, but do you have a preference for one, or do you just love doing them all, or?
They all like satisfy, I think, a different sort of part of my brain. And I love to play live. I find it like the most ultimate release. But then when I've been on tour for like a year and a half, I'm like, I can't wait to just crawl into a cave of a studio and like not know, and like be in a bubble, and that's a really magical experience too.
Your new album, Girl Talk, stylistically, how do you think it differs from some of your other stuff?
Well, I wrote it predominantly on bass, so that changed the sound like straight away. And then it's simple, it's like, it's no bullshit, you know what I mean? It's just like root notes of stuff, and I just wanted that. And it was the most satisfying like way I've ever written songs is by playing bass guitar, and it does sound different. I'm using my voice differently, I think my voice has matured. I think now I'm at a point where I can co-write with people. It's like, because before I'd be really protective over my material, like, oh, what if I can't write another song? So I need that for me. And now I'm like, not so terrified of writer's block.
What does your summer and what does the rest of your year look like?
Lots of touring, just playing a lot of shows. I want to tour this record as much as possible. And then I've got a movie coming out that I just worked on last December, and I just saw the screening of it the other day, and I'm sure there'll be other adventures.
Well, fantastic. Well, I hope that you will come by and see us again.
Yeah, definitely.
Because this was really fun, and I love chatting with you, and I love your album.
Thank you
and
so much.
The new album is called Girl Talk, and you can get it anywhere, right?
Anywhere.
iTunes.
Anywhere cool.
Anywhere cool. Kate Nash, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
And here's Kate singing her hit, the lovely Oh My God.
Hi, I'm Kate Nash, and this is Linda, and this is Oh My God from my record, Girl Talk. Hey, check me out, I'm so happy by the sea. Look, I can tell all my friends are jealous of me. They don't know how I feel inside. They don't know how I feel. They don't know I pretend to smile. But when I look at the stars at night, oh my God, I really, really miss you. I remember what it was like. The words you said don't make no sense. I wish you was in my bed. Oh my God, I really, really miss you. I remember what it was like. It's you. The words you said don't make no sense. I wish you was in my bed. The sun shines down on me, but I don't get no vitamin D. The bar does 2 for 1, but I'm not having any fun. Yeah, yesterday a dolphin kissed me, but I just don't feel no different. I write a postcard every day. I intend to send your way. Oh my God, I really, really miss you. I remember what it was like to kiss you. The words you said don't make no sense. I wish you was in my bed. Oh my God, I really, really miss you. I remember what it was like to kiss you. The words you said don't make no sense. I wish you was in my bed. Oh my God, I really, really miss you. I remember what it was like to kiss you. The words you said don't make no sense. I wish you was in my bed. Oh my God, I really, really miss you. I remember what it was like to kiss you. The words you said don't make no sense. I wish you was in my bed.
My next guests are, well, truly one of a kind. They are musicians, yes, but they go way beyond the definition of musician. They are truly artists. And together, they make up the very sexy, very fun duo known as the Swimming Pools. All right, well, it's only taken nearly half a century to finally coordinate it and get these gentlemen into the studio. But with me today are the super sexy, super singular, and super amazing band known as the Swimming Pools, AKA Daniel and Christoph. Thanks for finally making it. Yay.
Oh, thank you, Josh.
I'm so thrilled that you guys are here. I have so many questions for you. And actually, Christoph and I were talking a little bit while you were changing clothes. Tell us a little bit about the Swimming Pools and like how it sort of came together, how you guys met, and the sort of creation of the Swimming Pools.
Well, Christoph and I met at a club called Lux and started dating first. We were boyfriends before we started making music.
Love before music.
Exactly. And then we started actually making stuff.
And how would you describe what the Swimming Pools are? It seems to me to be more than just a band. It's not just about the music.
I mean, it's one of the things that we're developing, we've been developing over the past few years, is this idea of it's really a universe to itself.
Mm-hmm.
More and more we're exploring, what are the limits of that? What aren't we interested in? It's like from design to art to
cabaret,
to,
dance parties, movies, videos, graphic design.
So when people say, hey, what do you guys do? How do you describe that?
I mean, it's always been the music that's been the real kind of soul of everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's what brought us together, of course. And so that's really the fundamental piece. But then everything that's around that, from the lighting that we do at the parties to the way we promote the band and all of those things, it's really kind of exploring different worlds.
The costumes we make as well.
Mm-hmm.
My feathers.
I love it. I love it. You throw this event in the Meat Rack, and for those of you who don't know what the Meat Rack is, it's this space between Cherry Grove and the Fire Island Pines on Fire Island. It's notorious, but it's also really quite beautiful. How did that come about? Did you guys were like, hey, we're going to just throw a party here?
We started by doing performances in the Meat Rack, just playing our own music. It was just like an easy venue and random and unique space. And then we realized that the music scene in Fire Island was exclusively pop music, like pop 40, and we were thinking, okay, we need to bring something more interesting than that as a community. Like in the 70s, the gay community was about bringing disco. There were DJ coming to Fire Island, and people from around the world would come to Fire Island to listen to what was the music what was the music that was playing there. And now it's kind of dull, so we're like, okay, let's do a party with music from now that are interesting.
It had become so homogenous in terms of the music. And so we were like, let's try to bring something completely outside of that universe.
That was the core of the idea, and so we did that, and then we're like, okay, let's bring lights to it, and then people started to come, and people would perform randomly, like Iman, she would do like this crazy sun shower performance in the sun, and people would gather with the lights and lighting it, and it becomes kind of a free form where people participate. And there's also another aspect of it. It's a free party, bring your own booze party. So it's kind of a family, community-oriented gathering.
Well, in a way, I mean, it's really like almost anarchy in a way.
It is.
There's no fee. Anything is allowed, you know. So I think people are like really, they just feel so.
They feel home, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm always trying to describe it to people and liken it to what I thought, you know, the sort of romantic version of like a sort of late 60s, early 70s sort of Southern California beach party bonfire would be, you know, like it is sort of a modern twist on that sort of romantic notion, and people just come and they're just free, and you know, there is a certain attitude out there that can, you know, be unappealing, and people kind of show up thinking that it's going to be one thing, i.e. a sex party. And it's totally not that. Like, people always are like, oh, a party in the meat rack, and they just assume that it's all about sex. I mean, not that it's not sexual in its energy, but it's so much more.
What's very striking is if you look at people coming, so you have the party in between Cherry Grove and the Pines. So Cherry Grove is historically more of a lesbian community, and the Pines more of a gay community. And being in the center, you have people from both sides coming. That was kind of one of the ideas as well, is how can we bridge two communities, basically. And so in the middle of the night, you can see little flashlights coming from the left or the right, like coming out of nowhere. So it's very magical.
It's just so much about having fun.
Right.
It's not about showing up in your specific polo or tank top or whatever. It's just come as you are and have a ball. So.
In terms of also like being like LGBT artists, I mean, do you see that even being an issue anymore, like in the music world?
We think it's a strength to be queer and be a queer artist, and we want to be, we are queer artists. I think nudity is something that is a taboo and is still a taboo. We had like so many times in clubs in Paris, in New York, where the management says, okay, you cannot perform like that. And then we said, but that's what we do, that's our act. First we started to negotiate, you know, okay, let's put a jockstrap, and now we're just like, okay, we're leaving, we just want to do what we want to do.
Well, and I think particularly over the last, you know, I would say 3-4 years, there's been such a change in, you know, society. And it's one of the things that we've been talking about recently, is that the kind of like ghetto acts of the gay culture, this kind of like has to stop in a way. So, I mean, I think once someone breaks through, whoever it is, hopefully there'll be like a rush of people that'll go.
You're going to do some amazing events on the island this summer. Then what happens to you guys?
So we have this EP coming out. We're still working on it.
Once the EP is done, then it becomes, you know, basically promotion time.
What do you hope is the ultimate sort of takeaway for your audience?
I mean, for myself anyway, there's definitely an aspect of being an outlaw in a way, and really pushing at what's acceptable, but also about kind of within all of this kind of like gay mainstream acceptance, the kind of outlaw status that queers have always had is something that I think we need to retain and at least intellectually think about like where that's going.
I couldn't agree more. And if folks want to get information about the EP and about where you're going to be performing, what's the best way to do that?
So facebook.com, the swimming pools. It's all one word.
iTunes for the music, or Spotify.
We're on all the platforms, all the music platforms. And then theswimmingpools.com.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for coming in, and
Thank you, Josh.
Yes,
anytime you want to come back, we should start playing now, because God knows it takes me forever to get you guys here, so which is our fault, not yours. But anytime you want to come back and talk about anything that's going on, please do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And last, but certainly not least, is a local girl done good. Here is my sit down with the super cool rapper K.Flay. So it's not often that I get to say this, but with me today is someone who I would consider an absolute one-of-a-kind original. It is the super amazing rapper known as K.Flay. Thanks so much for coming in. Like I said, I don't know anybody who does what you do. So you have to explain to us exactly like, how did this come about? How did a girl from Wilmette, Illinois, and I can say that because I'm from Highland Park, Illinois.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
awesome. Okay.
we'll talk about that in a sec. But how does a girl who went to New Trier, which was my rival high school, become this super cool rapper?
Kind of haphazardly. I didn't do music growing up, and then I went to college in the Bay Area, and it was at a time when, I don't know, have you ever heard of hyphy music? Okay, so it was kind of like a super local scene, but it's this really weird hip hop thing that was going on in the Bay.
Okay.
I was talking to my friend about just like talking shit essentially on like kind of mainstream rap, and he was sort of like, well, you can't really talk shit. You never made a song in your life. So I was like, well, I guess I'll make a song. I realized it like actually meant something to me, and this creative outlet that I had never known even existed became this like the biggest thing in my life.
Do you ever run into sort of people being like, hey, what's this like white girl from the suburbs doing, you know, sort of appropriating rap?
I don't want to say we're like in a post era of everything, but I think at the core of most hip hop, I guess the main hip hop ethos, at least to me as a longtime fan, is just authenticity and like representing a perspective. And if you can do that in a genuine way, I think people respect that. And I also think it was pretty hard to shit on me because, you know, I was like alone on stage, really trying, you know what I mean? Like really like trying to do something. And I think people responded to that.
Now, you also mentioned when we were talking, like, your work actually needs to represent who you are and a certain authenticity in your own personal ethos. What would you say that is about you?
The main sort of perspective and thing that I'm trying to represent is a 20s modern girl or whatever, as part of a generation, and I sort of feel like there's this weird dichotomy that exists where you have a lot of sort of cynicism and apathy, but at the same time, like all these really, really smart people who are doing incredibly complex and interesting things, and they sort of coexist. I think usually the music comes from kind of a dark place. It's definitely emotionally pretty honest, but I realize that's like the music that I like at the end of the day, is stuff that's kind of dark.
We should mention that you have an EP coming out in August, so tell us a little bit about that.
So the EP is coming out this summer, right before I head out on the road on tour. It's a teaser of things to come. I've been recording new music for the last like 8-9 months, all of which I'm really excited about and feel really good about. I kind of feel like releasing it in smaller bits, because I know the way that I consume music too is like I prefer to get into 3 or 4 or 5 songs, do that, and then move on to the next batch, because I feel like it can marinate in a different way and have a different type of conversation. These songs are really, you know, kind of thematically like both a bit irreverent but dark. One of the things that has started to affect my music is just my lifestyle, and you know, I've been touring most of the last year, and sort of how that has made me perhaps a more insane person.
And you mentioned you're going out on tour with Akana Pop.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that too.
August and September, pretty much all across the country.
Like, what kind of venues do you guys play?
We're playing like 1,000 to 1,500 cap rooms, a little bigger. I don't know what we're doing. I think it'll be a really cool combo, and you know, they've got a little bit more electronic than I am, but I think that's cool. You know, we've got sort of the little bit more of a punk rock element, and,
Nice.
But I think the attitude of everybody is kind of punk rock.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And you're also making a video.
Yeah, we're gonna be shooting a couple videos, actually 2 videos for the EP.
Nice.
So that'll be coming out, just to kind of get that ready to launch as soon as possible.
And I want to ask you, I'm always interested to see what your like musicians and artists sort of thoughts are around the business side of what's happening in the music industry now.
It's kind of interesting for me because I started out super DIY, you know, and I still am pretty DIY in most respects, although I'm on a major label now. So it's kind of, you know, I sort of see this other machinery operating. But it's been really cool. They've kind of respected the fact that I'm a bit of a control freak or whatever it is, and given me free reign to, you know, in terms of like, you know, I still run my website. Up until like 2 months ago, my mom was running the merch store. So I think you sort of need the resources from here and the like energy and compulsion for creativity from here, you know, and those two things to collide.
My other question to you really is specifically about LGBT artists. Like, you know, 10 years ago, like being an openly gay artist was virtually impossible. And do you think that that's changing, and do you think it's important, and do you think anybody really cares anymore?
You know, people don't really care. Not to say like we're past a lot of problems, but I think in music it's just such an eclectic, creative, sort of tolerant world. But it does feel like, especially I think in creative realms, it's always mattered less.
Who's your core audience, would you say?
Core audience is like 18 to 25. It's actually like pretty much half and half, male, female. It's kind of a weird mix, like the show. Some of them it's like super hip hop kids. Some of them are like total indie kids, and some are like Britney Spears fans. It's kind of a weird, but I think the overall energy for everybody is sort of like an alternative energy. I had a dude come up to me at a show. He was like 50 or something. He came like just with him and his friend. They were fans. So I mean, you never really know.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
He was super nice, and his like daughter drew me a picture or something.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, I cannot thank you enough for coming in. It was such a great pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us where we can find the EP when it comes out.
The EP will be online. You can get it on my website, K.Flay.com.
Yeah, and you can go to K.Flay.com for the schedule.
The schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going a lot of places. Like,
so don't miss it, right?
Don't miss it.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Well, that about does it for today. A lot, no? So go out and grab some of these folks' music, put them on a playlist, stick your headphones on. I promise you won't regret it. And if you have favorite summer artists you want to share with me, you can always send them to me at justjosh@heartv.com. That's justjosh@heartv.com. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.